Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back, I should say, to the Epic Gear Cup number 2. We are now into the finals bracket stage. I want to call it that. Still in the quarterfinals overall. I am Spuddington, and today I am going to be joined by Henning.
Yes, hello everybody. I'm really excited to be here as first big League of Legends cast. It's going to be really exciting to watch the quarterfinals here. It's going to be OG against SK Prime here in these last quarterfinal, I think it is.
Yes, I believe it is the last one to complete, and after that we will be streaming the semi-finals, so keep an eye on the stream even once that is done. But today we've got a matchup between two teams that are one of them's pretty well known. SK Prime, obviously, we've seen them in the Riot Challenger Series, we've seen them in the Face It Invitational, all sorts of events like that recently, and I believe we're seeing them in the Chaos TV Challenger Series as well. OG, however, a little bit less well known. They are a pretty solid team, Diamond Ones and that kind of level of individuals, but it's going to be quite difficult for them to face up against such an experienced team. We will see what they go with, though. We have got some picks and bans coming in. Henning, what are those?
Yeah, this looks like the bans so far are Yeso, LeBlanc and Lee Sin for OG, and Kassadin, Pantheon and Kha'Zix for SK Prime. So interesting to see here the Kassadin being banned out, even though we are on the live server. And it looks like the first ban is going to be, or the first pick is going to be for OG right here, and hopefully it's going to, yeah, there's the Thresh. So not telling too much, giving away too much about the team composition.
Yeah, that does sort of imply they want to hold on to their counter bans right now. Nothing too serious has slipped through. Obviously, Elise is likely to be less of a priority pick than she was, as she was recently nerfed. Renekton can still work through, but there are starting to be a couple more counters potentially available to that. Kennen and Ryze now are starting to see a little bit more acceptance across the sort of the challenger scene, I'd say. But we'll see if SK Prime have prepared any kind of counter to Renekton, because he is still probably the most safe mid laner, top laner available.
Yeah, it just gives your team a lot of early pressure and early presence in the top parts of the map, and yeah, might be counted or not counted, but like something like a Trundle or something like a Shyvana is able to maybe go toe-to-toe, or something like a Ryze could also maybe have a good time, but it's also quite risky as Renekton's all-in potential is quite strong early. But that is the Lulu lock-in for SK, so really prioritizing this mid lane pick, which it's most likely going to be.
I'm actually a little bit surprised, now that I think of it, that Lulu has snuck through there, because yes, Renekton is a very strong top laner there, but allowing the Lulu through, who has been probably the strongest mid lane pick for quite a while now, even including Kassadin over the last patch. Surprised to see that slip through anyway, but SK Prime with the Karma lock-in as well, likely to be a support Karma, potentially a top Karma, which could work against Renekton. They're going to have an awful lot of mobility built into their team comp.
Yeah, definitely. And as you're talking about top Karma, I almost have to mention the Lulu against the Renekton as well as a really interesting matchup. We saw Soas playing that once in the LCS, so maybe not ruling out anything, but I would predict something like a Lulu mid lane and a Karma probably on the support role. But as you said, a lot of mobility there in both of those champions. We'll see if any team chooses to pick up Sivir. She's a really strong mobility AD carry and something you can really build your team around, but there is actually the Lucian lock-in for OG, so no Sivir here along with the Renekton and Vi.
It's actually a little bit surprising to see Sivir slipping through as well, and it would work really well with SK's lineup here. But if they want to get through the lane on equal terms, a Caitlyn pick could work equally well. She's just a very, very solid all-arounder and gives you pretty much a tool for every situation, which is a little bit less specialized than the stuff like a Sivir, who obviously works very, very well with hard engage compositions, and they may actually feel they've got enough movement speed as it is, simply from having the AoE movement from the Karma and the individual speed boost there from the Lulu.
There is the lock-in of the jungle Evelyn, or most likely jungle, which is gonna have quite a tough time if she goes toe-to-toe with Vi in the early game. But if she can get up to level 3-4, buy some items and then go just and put some pressure on the opposing team, it is going to really be putting in some fear into the laners of OG. Like the Renekton won't be able to play as aggressive as you would normally like to do with such a champion.
So I think it's going to be an interesting one here. If SK Prime are running the Evelynn pick, typically what you want to do against an Evelynn is you want to try and get some early green wards in to check her jungle path. Now, are we likely to see a support that goes with, say, a gold item and some early wards, since you can no longer try and do any kind of invade to get your trinket wards in? You may actually be better off putting down some early normal green wards, which do not have that time restriction. We'll see if they do go with that, but I'm a little bit surprised to see it, but I think we may be having a mid lane Rise today.
Yeah, not something that's common in the current metagame at all, and versus the Lulu, I think Rise definitely could get bullied out early, but if you can just pick up some farm, get your tier, get your Catalyst and Rod of Ages go rolling, you're gonna become a late game monster, but OG's team is not really built around going into the late game anyway.
It will give them a really, really solid late game, though, simply because if you've got Rise on your team and the rest of your composition isn't completely and utterly awful in the late game, you're going to have plenty of damage. You're going to have that really incredible frontline bruiser for that late game situation should it occur. Of course, the problem is it can cause you problems in the early game, and it will be really interesting to see the mid lane matchup here, because I've not seen it before, and I'd be very, very surprised if Rise can deal competently with a Lulu, since Lulu just has so much early damage, and Rise does not have the range to avoid taking that.
Yeah, absolutely. Lulu is going to be able to bully Rise over the course of a long time, but like in short burst trades, Rise could actually be able to go toe-to-toe, but of course Lulu, as you said, with the range advantage as well as some added utility. The thing is that, you know, Rise is just going to become this late game monster in the team fights. No mobility spells at all for OG, or no way to speed up the Rise, could become somewhat of a problem, because I think it's really, really good with something like a Karma, Lulu, or Sivir, so that the Rise that normally not that mobile can get on the back line. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he will make this Rise work in such a team composition.
Yeah, all right, guys, we're just going to be going into a quick break while we wait for the delay timer to tick down, so we'll see you after this when we're in game for OG versus SK Prime.
After they came and destroyed the land, there was one spark of hope left for all of mankind.
Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Epic Gear Cup number 2 quarterfinals. We are in game right now. This is Overgaming versus SK Prime, and Ku's gonna have to watch it. How you doing, Henning?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm just getting into the game right now, and yeah, it looks like there's some level 1 action going on already.
Yes, indeed there is. Ku had to kind of peace out, run away there. He did get spotted, so Overgaming spotted that he was there. And for those of you who don't know, Overgaming are pretty much the same roster as the Giants used to be, the Ozone Giants. So picked up now, obviously, by Overgaming, a relatively large Spanish organization. And it does look like, having gotten that early ward down, which I called in Champion Select, so I'm proud of myself, they've now gone back to their own, and it looks like they're going to play for a fairly defensive start.
Yeah, that's quite interesting, actually, going for the early ward. I guess it was Thresh that picked that up. And just ordered the red buff earlier, just wanting to know where Ku is. And that is one way to counter the Evelynn, knowing where she is. And here's actually, wow, 6 almost getting caught out, has to flash the hook from Babetta. So a lot of level 1 action going on, and it looks like OG wants to move on the blue buff.
Yeah, very, very smart stuff here. They force Evelynn now to go for their blue. It will be a return trade, but by doing that, they make her path a lot more predictable because they know exactly where she's going to go, and they will also see her when she gets to her own red. So Vi's not going to be slowed down particularly, since she's very much ready for her own buff to be stolen, and the unpredictability aspect of an Evelynn normally means that she will be is massively reduced as compared to normally.
And it looks like this is actually the 2v1 here for OG, with Corwin's Renekton going into the bottom lane. But, you know, Karma and Caitlyn, can you even find 2 champions with, or bot lane champions with more poke than that? It's some of the champions with the most poke, so it's going to be really annoying for Corwin to go into that lane. And Mozilla here on top is going to be able to pick up some farm against Dexter, actually. Interesting lane setup.
Yeah, they're prioritizing their farm over their tower pushing here. It's going to be harder in general for Lucian and Thresh to push down towers, and they're going to be up against a tower which, for the first 8 minutes, is going to have that bonus damage reduction. On the flip side of that, though, they are going to be getting Ryze into a good matchup against Trundle. Lucian and Thresh aren't going to have to deal with Caitlyn in the early game, and Renekton should be able to get a decent amount of experience, and that's all he really needs. Now, Ku is looking for a Locust.
Oh yeah, some action in the jungle here, and I predicted Vi to have the advantage. Let's see if that is actually the case. No, it looks like Ku is pushing back. Solarius has to flash away, but here comes Babetta and Cymox. Ku picks up the first blood though, and gets the reset on the W. Will it be enough to get away? And there is actually Corwin now. He's going to pick up the return kill here. Looks like 6 does not want to chase, and Corwin gets away. A 1-for-1 so far, but the first blood for Ku.
So, first blood for Ku, as you mentioned, and it also destroys the double buffs there, which hurts both of the junglers, but most likely that's going to hurt Relokus a little bit more, since now Evelynn will have picked up her Spirit Stone. She's going to have much less mana problems from clearing away her camps. She looks like she's still hasn't cleared out her own red buff for those mini lizards there, so that's a little bit strange, and I'm not entirely sure why that's happened.
No, actually Vi went up to, they took each other's red buff, so Vi actually left the small lizards onto the red buff of SK.
I'm blind. Okay, fair enough. That makes a lot of sense. So it does look like Excellent and Ku are going to hang in the mid lane for a second. Don't really see them having much gank potential though.
No, not really. I mean, Exiler and Ku might be able to just win a straight up 2v2 duel, and here it actually comes. Exiler flashes away, but it looks like it's going to go down to the Ignite there. Better flashes away, but might be actually, no, it's going down to Ku. Ku with the reset on the W is not able to get anything more, but here comes Solarius into the bottom lane. Double buffs actually. Double buffs actually there onto Corwin, which is something I did not pick up, so don't know if that's going to play any factor.
It's a very, very handy thing to have as Renekton, because obviously he's going to have the Q cooldown. It also means if he can get the Slice and Dice onto either of SK's bottom lane right now, he can chase them down really, really hard. And I think Ku is predicting that they will try and get aggressive once this wave is gone. And he is there looking for a potential counter gank. At the moment though, OG are just sitting pretty much back on their tower. They can't really safely farm, and the tower is getting bled from its for its health here.
Yeah, and if we compare Lulu to Renekton, which is the players going in a 1-for-2, the farm advantage is definitely in Lulu's favor with the additional range over Renekton, and looks like this is actually some good tower pressure in the 3 versus 2. Will not be able to take down the tower on this wave, but I mean, it might go down on the next one.
I still think this is pretty much the way OG would have expected this lane to go. They weren't planning on coming out way ahead from the laning phase here in terms of towers and tower pressure. They were just looking to try and get those priority people a decent amount of farm so they don't have to worry about it in the later game. That does mean they're going to have to try and make up for this tower deficit now, and we'll see whether Ku is going to be able to catch Relocus with the rest of them.
Yeah, here's a lot of action as Babetta actually coming in here for the 3 versus 3, and Svanillan is focusing down onto Celerius, but their 6 goes down. There's a 1-for-1, and with the reset on the W for Ku, might be able to pick up Corwin as well. Yes, there is the kill, and another W reset here. Is Ku going to be able to go for Babetta? No, without mana, I think it's going to be really tough to pick up the kill, and it ends up as a 2-for-1 in favor of SK.
So, now with Zilla actually going quite aggressive on Exeter in this top lane as well.
I hit level 6 before Exeter did, so using that ultimate to just put some pressure on Exeter, maybe we'll be able to force out the back, but we can actually see on Trundle as well, 0 mana, or like not 0 mana, but very low mana at least, so won't be able to kill Exeter, but forces him out, and we're probably going to force the teleport as well.
So, Rise going to be continuing to, as predicted, use that teleport to get the farm. Continuing to farm up, look towards that late game. That is the plan, and that's in general the plan for OG right now. The question is going to be, how are they going to respond to SK Prime's next move? Most likely going to form up with their 3 or 4 men in the mid lane, push that out, and then go for the dragon. They've got the vision in the area, and they will be able to clear it out relatively easily, but actually at the moment, it looks like they're not going to prioritize that. If they send Caitlyn Karma top lane to try and shut down Rise, that actually ends up leaving them open to the potential dragon take. I'm not actually sure I like that play.
No, especially when you have a Trundle with a teleport. I mean, going 1-for-1 against Rise won't be too hard, and you could just go teleport down to the dragon. But yeah, as you said there, SK is here prioritizing not the global objectives and the global goal, but shutting down Rise, but might actually backfire as Rise is now heading towards the mid lane.
So it's going to end up being a 2-on-2 in the top lane, which very much cancels out, and the dragon is going to be much harder to take in general at this stage of the game. You can see Corwin is actually clearing that out. This does have the benefit, though, of making it so that Renekton is likely to have to lane against Trundle for a while. He's not going to be particularly keen to do that when he's actually behind on levels at the moment. Trundle outscales Renekton, but it does take quite a while. The other thing here about the situation is that if Locus... Is that even how you'd pronounce his name? I don't know. But why? However you would pronounce it, regardless. If he's in that top lane and he reveals himself, it's an easy dragon take. Dragon is basically the focal point right now. All the moves they make should be focused around that.
Yeah, absolutely, and with Trundle there, as well as the Lulu, is not going to be any trouble to taking that down actually, but Ku uses his might on towards the red buff. Not sure if that's going to be having too much of an impact as Celerius goes in towards the top lane.
So, looks like at this point in time, it's not going to be an easy time. Doesn't look like it's going to be an easy time, and we do actually have the pick on Renekton in the bot lane. Didn't spot that out, but Exeter is coming in on the top lane. Ultimate used by Vi.
And here's the Rise coming in from the other side, but actually Six getting a lot of movement speed there from his Mandrad ability, and this might be able to get out. No, Exeter gets the kill, and that is exactly the person they want to have it on. Tier completed, Catalyst almost completed, so this Rise is going to get scary, but SK is going for the dragon here.
Yeah, that is the typical response to seeing that commitment in the top lane, and they will get it. So it's a very much a free dragon there. Well, not a free dragon, but a good trade taken for the dragon. And Lulu is also now roaming down with Ku. So there is just walk past the ward.
Yeah, extremely offensive warding here from the entire SK team with 2 normal wards as well as a pink ward here in the bottom side of the jungle. So he's just able to spot out Vi and kill her where she stands. No defensive stats so far. Going for the Spirit of the Elder Lizard, actually completing it right there. So domination from SK here in the bottom parts of the map so far.
Yeah, and compare the overall vision control. There's 1 blue ward on the map. It's a massive deficit for OG, and Babetta's in trouble.
Yeah, Babetta no, he's going to get away here with the shield from his lantern. Is going to be able to get out of there with no particular problem. Samex might want to recall here. No, he's going to stay under the tower, but with a perk going out from a level 7 Caitlyn and level 6 Karma, it's going to be really tough here. I mean, if they just get like one Caitlyn Q as well as an auto attack on him, I think the Caitlyn ult might be able to finish him off, but he is going to stay here with some life still there from the Vamp Scepter as well as his Doran's Blade and his runes. He might be safe for now.
Yeah, the top tower is dropping very, very low though, so that's going to actually just drop down completely right now. And Delirious is trying to farm his way back in. He's been dying quite a lot as a result. Not that much experience. He's a little bit low on levels for his for where he'd like to be, and he's quite squishy right now. So he's having a lot of difficulty setting up these picks, but when his ultimate comes back up, he's probably going to want to make at least one kill happen with that, and I think mid lane is where he's looking towards.
It looks like that is what's going on, but with the wards here going on down from SK's, might be able to spot him out here. I don't know if Exilin knows what's going to come his way here, but we do have 6 waiting in the wings.
Yeah, indeed, Exeter actually going to be throwing in his abilities there on Exeter. Valerius not going to have anything done.
Gets out of there, but does have the Vi ultimate, and yeah, they are just looking for the tower here, and I think this is exactly how you need to play Caitlyn as the team fight is breaking out, and wow, a lot of damage going out to Hilarious, Spirit of the Elder Lizard, as well as the Hex Drinker already down for Ku, who might be able to get out here. No, gets shut down by Samex, but this was 2 kills for 1 for SK, and it's going to be a tower as well.
So, SK going to be now retreating to get away from Samex, but I don't really see OG getting anything in return. Mozilla pushing down the bottom lane at the same time, and he's going to be able to pressure that whilst they're also taking this mid tower. SK Prime may get locked down here.
Yeah, this is a lot of tower pressure coming out from SK, and this is how you should really use a Caitlyn, I think, just pushing down the towers with her superior range. And meanwhile, we do have Mozilla pushing the bot lane as well with his teleport, although Exeter and Solarius might be coming to shut that down. Actually,
So
in the mid lane
right
as
now,
well.
Oops, sorry. Yeah, so teleport in the mid lane.
Yeah, and there is the ultimate coming out of Caitlyn, but the barrier and as well as the flash from Samex might save him here, but 6 actually goes down to Exeter, but there is the return kill from SK. Is able to pick up Exeter, and Corwin is going really low, but might go in for Mozilla once more. No, goes down to Svanillan, and this is an intense team fight here as Q comes in and picks up a kill onto Solarius. They are forcing away OG, and is going to be able to take this middle tower.
But a very, very messy re-engage from OG there. Seeking out a fight they essentially couldn't win. Exeter teleporting in, getting the 1-for-1 trade. That's acceptable. He thought maybe he could have escaped. But the follow-up re-engage got Corwin killed and got Solarius killed. Definitely not worth it. And that just means SK Prime are once again securing their lead. They're now a significant amount of gold ahead, up to about 6,000 now between the two teams. And that's really getting to a point where you've got to be careful which engages you choose as OG.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can just see 7 kills onto Q's Evelyn, as well as 3 onto Svanillan's Caitlyn, and we can just see all these characters from SK are just building pure damage, pretty much all of them. There's some AP onto Lulu, there's a Hex Drinker, as well as the Spirit of the Elder Lizard onto Evelyn, and even a Blade of the Ruined King first on Mozilla's Trundle, so just pure damage almost so far from SK.
Yeah, that's a fairly standard build there. We will see Trundle and Evelyn get tankier as the game goes by, but as you say, right now, they are relatively squishy, and that does actually lend to potentially getting caught out by Vi. Trundle, of course, is always going to be a little bit harder to kill thanks to his regen and his ability to just steal away loads of defensive stats.
Absolutely, and we can see Mozilla here going in onto Exeter. Exeter gets a quick spell rotation but backs out. Meanwhile, Barbaric goes in here, and there's actually the Vi ultimate onto Q. Are they going to be able to shut down this? Evelyn, no, with the Lulu ultimate coming down. SK is really turning this fight around, and Samex is forced to use his relentless pursuit to get away. Meanwhile, Exeter is being chased down by the Ace in the Hole, as well as this scary troll, and this is going to be red buff, as well as 3 kills for SK Prime.
It feels like OG's plan when they start falling behind is just to get even more aggressive and start choosing even more aggressive fights there. It was a really, really strange one. Babetta, on half health, chose to go in on his death sentence on 6, getting sandwiched between 6 and Caitlyn, which was just a free kill. He was barely able to zone anything out, and in the meantime, his team was really without a lantern to escape to or anything of that nature, so they couldn't disengage from a losing fight. SK Prime in commanding lead at this point. They've got loads and loads of vision control over the bottom jungle, and I really, really do not see this dragon being contested.
No, not at all. It's going to go down pretty quickly here as it's going to spawn in 3 seconds. I think the reasoning behind that team fight is that they know that Ku on Evelynn has the most gold in the entire game. So they saw an opportunity to use the Vi ultimate onto her and maybe be able to burst her down. But then the Lulu came in with the ultimate with the shield and was able to save her. So yeah, it looks like it's just going to be a bottom lane push here for SK.
Yeah, and this is actually also very, very smart. They know Exeter's down there. They know there's a chance for them to get that kill. But looks like they're instead going to opt to recall and regen. And they know, Exeter knows that they were there. So, at the moment, that tier stacked up to 328. It's going to take Exeter actually quite a long time to be relevant in this game. And at this rate, you've got to wonder, is that going to be just too late?
They just picked up the Rod of Ages about a minute ago, so it's going to be pretty much 9 more minutes until it becomes fully stacked, which is not that good when it comes to the OG's fights in the near future. Samex is taking some pressure there from Svanillan in the mid lane, and it is forced out here as SK could go for the middle tower, but does not have the amount of wards that they feel they need, so they are backing out.
Yeah, right now, I'd actually like to see OG start to pick up maybe even 3 sweepers, or at least 1 upgraded sweeper, because they need to be making sure that when they do have these brief periods of safety, they can get control of their own jungle. Exeter actually trading off against Exeter.
Yeah, they actually missed the first Q that did Exeter, but looks like he might be able to pick up the duel against Exeter, but there is the flash away from another Q, so Exeter might go down, and here is actually Corwin coming in for the support. Is Exeter is going to be able to get away, has the speed buff right now, is going to use it on himself, or save it for the polymorph. There's the speed buff as well as the shield, but it's not going to be enough as Corwin is going to be able to pick up this kill onto Exiler. Is going to get away though as the Karma and the Evelynn here is coming for support, and looks like Corwin is actually going to be trapped here and is going down. Double kill for Ku, who was actually picking up Exeter as well in the background, which I did not catch, and meanwhile in the top lane Mozilla is just pushing his heart out.
Yeah, Ku snuck around behind while that chase was going on to Exeter. I think Corwin knew he was likely to die when he went for that dive, but in the end, Ku was able to catch out Exeter before he could recall as well. And all that time Trundle was pushing up the mid lane. Lucian was trying to do the same thing in the mid, but he wasn't able to get the tower, nor, in fairness, was Trundle. But it was again an uneven exchange of kills. And that's just increasing the gold gap, now up to 9,000 between the two teams, which is very much a team fight level, a do not team fight sort of a flag right now.
Yeah, absolutely. OG just needs to find a pick. And well, what they have going for them is that they have potential to find a pick with the Vi, the Rise, and the Thresh, but I mean, it's going to take some sort of miracle for them to come back, I think.
Yeah, it'll be very, very hard for if they can manage it at all. And SK Prime know that they've got control over this area, so all OG can really do is try and turtle in. They need to kind of bet on Exeter right now because he's the only one in their team who's likely to outscale his counterpart on SK. And Trundle's going to be a pretty significant threat too, but he can't afford to spend too long farming because a 5-on-4 dive is actually an option for SK Prime even this early into the game, because Mozilla would be so tanky on that, and you can see he just gets that tower very, very cleanly done, and they will continue to push this. They can siege pretty well. They've got Caitlyn.
Absolutely, as well as the Lulu with a lot of poke, and here comes the engage from Corwin going in, but gets polymorphed, gets some damage from the Lulu as well, but here comes the re-engage from Ku with the Lulu ultimate onto Mozilla, and there's the first kill, there's the second kill, and I mean SKJ are just pushing back. OG right here. Exeter might be able to do something here as he teleported in recently, but Mozilla is going to be able to pick up this kill as well as Samex is shooting onto Exeter, but this is actually going to be the ace for SK and might be the game.
The respawn timers are still very, very short, but I suspect OG might actually surrender since we're very much coming up on 20 minutes right now. And SK Prime just looking so strong this entire game. The rotations have been really crisp. Their team fighting has just been outclassing OG. And you've got to wonder what they're going to do if they ever fight again. But, of course, this is actually a best-of-1 format right now in the EpicGearCup quarterfinals. So if they lose this game, they're out of the tournament, and SK Prime will be moving on.
Yeah, there is the surrender coming out from OG, so SK with a cleanly executed game from start to finish, using the Caitlyn range to push down towers, getting the goal advantage, and thereby winning the team fights. I'm really